statue back to Iowa is the final step in the process that sent a statue of Norman Borlaug to the United States Capitol earlier this year to represent Iowa, along with the statue of former Governor Samuel Kirkwood. Next week, we will close the loop on the transition. The unveiling of the Harlan statue in Mount Pleasant will be a proud moment for our state. Senator Harlan's commitment to public service and to education is inspiring, and I am very pleased that this statue will be placed at Iowa Wesleyan. At Iowa Wesleyan, students, faculty, staff, and visitors can be reminded of the legacy that Senator Harlan has in Iowa and in the United States. When the state appropriated $5,000 in 1907 to commission the Harlan statue for the National Statuary Hall, artist Nellie V. Walker was hired to do the work. She was born in Red Oak in 1874 and grew up in Moulton, and her father was a stonecutter, and she studied at the Art Institute in Chicago. The statue she created stands 8 foot tall, 3 inches, and it's made of bronze and weighs about 2,500 pounds, and the base is made of granite and weighs about 5,000 pounds. Nellie Walker died 41 years ago in 1973, so I'm pleased that we have her brilliant statue of Senator James Harlan returning to Iowa in a place of prominence at the Iowa Wesleyan. So thank you very much, and now I'd like to invite Director County to the podium.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, and thank you, Governor Branstad. Next week's unveiling is supported by so many different connections between Senator Harlan, Iowa Wesleyan, Mount Pleasant, along with the state of Iowa and the United States, so it seems only appropriate to add one more name. Many of you may be familiar with the name Ben Victor, who recently created the Norman Borlaug statue who replaced Senator Harlan. We were delighted to learn that he was also commissioned to create the statue of Belle Bad Mansfield, who also resides on the campus of Iowa Wesleyan and was installed in 2008. She was the first woman in the United States to pass the bar exam and was the nation's first female attorney. With the unveiling next week, we are very pleased that these two statues of remarkable Iowans will bookend the campus at Iowa Wesleyan. Next week's ceremony will also be a milestone for Iowa because these statues embody a significant amount of Iowa history, and their artistic qualities define a high water mark for cultural arts. When we're discussing the Harlan statue, it's important to note that it is just one of 3 statues to represent Iowa and National Statuary Hall collection, which is considered one of the most prominent collections of sculpted works in the world. So to have this statue coming back to Iowa, coming back to Mount Pleasant, to be displayed in a public setting at Iowa Wesleyan combines the highest levels of artistic and historical significance in one piece for all Iowans and those out of state to come and experience and enjoy. So I want to personally thank Governor Branstad, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, the Iowa Legislature, Iowa Wesleyan College, the Borlaug Committee, and Ambassador Quinn, who led the effort originally to replace Harlan with Norman Borlaug. And really quickly, I want to just thank President Titus with Iowa Wesleyan. I just gave you a promotion. Okay, and then also Representative Dave Heaton, who just snuck in and who really led the effort to make sure that Senator Harlan would be going back home, along with Paul Dennison, who's the chair of our Iowa Arts Council, and Meg Grickman with Iowa Wesleyan as well, who is spearheading this project on their behalf. So thank you for your vision and your leadership in making this happen. And with that, I'd like to have President Steve Titus give a couple words.
Well, good morning, everyone. And Mary, thank you for that promotion. It's greatly appreciated. It is a privilege to be here this morning. Governor Branstad, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, my sincere appreciation to you and the Iowa Legislature for your efforts to ensure James Harlan found his way home to Iowa and to the campus of Iowa Wesleyan in Mount Pleasant. And while James Harlan and his legacy belong to all of Iowa, we at Iowa Wesleyan are honored to welcome his statue to a place he himself called home. Harlan was a visionary leader, a man who not only served his country and state, but also assumed the presidency of what was then the Collegiate Institute, and in 2 short years transformed a young college into Iowa Wesleyan University, offering relevant and rigorous academic programs to students in Southeast Iowa and beyond. And today, 159 years later, as we embark upon a transformative and collaborative strategic planning endeavor, we return to that bold vision of Senator James Harlan of a regional comprehensive university. So it is befitting that here and now the statue of James Harlan comes home. And so I'd like to echo the governor's invitation to invite all of you to the unveiling ceremony on Thursday, August 28th at 2 p.m. On the picturesque campus of Iowa Wesleyan in Mount Pleasant, as well as other opening ceremonies we have that day with the Midwest Old Threshers Reunion and the ribbon cutting of the celebration of the 1861 Union Block building, where Belle Babb Mansfield, the first woman to ever be admitted to the bar in the United States of America, sat for the bar and studied for the bar. So all Iowans are welcome to the homecoming of James Harlan. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you again to all of you.
President Titus, thank you very much. As someone that loves Iowa and especially loves Iowa history, I'm very excited about this upcoming event and look forward to being there. Questions on this topic?
How is it being transported?
By truck, but
Actually, now Senator Harlan arrived on March 29th and has been on the campus neatly and safely tucked away on campus since that time. Over the summer, we've made preparations for the statue. In fact, he will appear right before what's called University Chapel, a building that he built when he was there. And so we've made the preparations for that. And tomorrow, he will actually be set on the concrete pad that will be his home indefinitely.
Is it going to be inside or outside?
He will be outside. And in fact, I think as Mary alluded to, on the other side of campus is the bronze statue of Belle Babb Mansfield. And so I think, Mary, as you said, we'll have it bookend with two of our most prominent Iowans at home in Mount Pleasant and on the campus of Iowa Wesleyan College.
How much does it cost?
Now, okay, sorry, for which piece in particular? To bring the statue back? Okay, so to take a step back, so this was all part of the larger initiative of the Borlaug Committee. So they actually initiated the fundraising, which, if you recall, DuPont Pioneer was a donor along with an anonymous donor. But the actual move from the U.S. Capitol and install at Iowa Wesleyan was $14,200. Yes, that was all part of the resolution for the Borlaug Committee.
Is there anything that had to be done so it could be outside? Because it hasn't been inside, right?
It has been inside, and really there is nothing that needs to be done. What we need to attend to, though, is to make sure that we maintain that now that it is outside. And so it's equipped and able to be outside with no threat, to the artwork. And but we're working with Mary's office, DCA, to make sure that we do what we need to preserve it on an annual basis and more if needed.
The funding that covering the moving install part of the Borlaug funding, is that all private donations or is there some state?
yes, that's all private donations. Now, you recall I appointed a committee which was chaired by Ken Quinn. They raised the private money. They chose the artist, and so this just completes it. This is, I guess the completion of their work. We anticipated that Harlan would be coming back to Iowa. This is certainly the appropriate place for him to be. We're very excited about that he comes back where he was the president and played such a key role envisioning Iowa Wesleyan University's future, and then the role that he played in our history and American history.
And just to clarify, excuse me, Governor,
Go ahead.
the state of Iowa still owns this statue. We simply have developed an MOU with Iowa Wesleyan in terms of, as President Titus mentioned, in terms of how to make sure the statue is properly maintained.
Yeah, we have some other things on loan too, like the flag that we took off of the South Carolina Capitol. The Iowa troops took that during the Civil War, and the South Carolina people wanted that back, so we said we'd loan it back to them, but it's still ours.
Governor, now that the process with the Borlaug statue is complete, is there any consideration being placed with the other statue in the Capitol, from
Not to my knowledge. I think only 5 states have changed their statute, so this doesn't happen very often. And the other statute, as you may know, is Governor Kirkwood. He's the only other governor that served non-consecutive terms as governor of Iowa. He was the Civil War governor. He also was a very close friend of Lincoln. He personally recruited and actually helped finance some of the Iowa troops in the Civil War. I had the honor of going down to Vicksburg to rededicate the Iowa statute, and he actually visited the troops during the siege of Vicksburg, and then he had a 12-year sabbatical, similar to mine, and then they recruited him. The Republicans were not satisfied with what was going on at their convention to nominate the governor, so they got in the train from Des Moines to Iowa City, and they asked him, would you run again? And he did. He came back and he served again, and then he went on and served in the Senate after that. So I think Kirkwood is another, and especially Iowa had more troops that fought to save the Union per capita than any other state in the nation. And he played a very key role in it. In fact, the National Governors Association gives each of the retiring governors a print of the statue of President Lincoln meeting with the loyal governors. I have that in my office, and Kirkwood was one of them. So he was a very important and influential individual in our state's history as well. Other questions? Yes.
Governor, now that you've been governor for a long time, have you thought about something to preserve your own legacy, like a Branstad library or
No.
I'm serious.
No, I haven't. First of all, I'm focused on the future and what I want to accomplish, and we're not done yet. We've got a lot more work that we want to do, and so I have to win this election, and I have a lot more work that I intend to do over the next 4 years. But I am proud to be governor of this state. I have a keen interest in the history of Iowa, and I want to do all I can to support the preservation of our illustrious Iowa history and the people that played a key role in it. I'm a strong supporter of the Iowa History Journal, and a subscriber to it. If you don't subscribe to it, you should. It comes out twice. It comes out 6 times a year, every other month, and I think it's a tremendous publication. I think you can learn a lot by reading it. We are working to see now that every school gets that Iowa History Journal so they can learn more about our history. Other questions?
Governor, your campaign has been critical of Senator Hatch's use of tax credits and for small business for building low-income housing. Register did a review of that, found that his practices are largely in line with other developers. Is there an issue with the way those programs are structured that I guess you can come from?
Well, I think Iowans have a right to know that information, and I think it's interesting that with only investing $1,200, he made over $7 million, and that while he rails against tax credits that have created great jobs in southeast Iowa, he has made millions off of tax credits. I have disclosed 24 years of my taxes. His campaign manager disclosed 1 year and promised to disclose the previous 4, but then when Senator Hatch found out about it, he said no, and he refuses to this day. I think Iowans deserve to know how much money that he made and how much taxes he paid, and the kind of tax credits that he was able to take, that he was able to get while he simultaneously served in the state Senate. I think that's information that the public should have a right to know.
But if he's followed all the rules and done everything right and been able to do that, does that mean?
Well, wait a minute. That's a judgment of your newspaper. I think the people of Iowa should be able to make their own judgment, and that's the reason why I'm saying that let's see the tax returns and let Iowans make that decision for themselves. Yes, sir.
Governor, you're probably aware a lot of people have been going to Colorado. People are saying that recreational marijuana, there's whole tourism that's doing great things for the economy. Some people are praising it as a huge success. There's a lot of interest in that. Now that Iowa has legalized the cannabis, is it possible that you're gonna be open to a debate during the next legislative session on recreational marijuana?
Well, you've only heard one side of the story. I've also heard great concerns from the business community and some of the unintended consequences and some of the deaths and some of the problems associated with it. I understand that it's created a lot of problems for Governor Hickenlooper and the leadership in the state of Colorado. I think you got to be very careful and very thoughtful about that, the impact that would have, and what it could do to the workforce and to the ability of the state to be competitive.
So are you open to a discussion on it?
No, I believe, well, I can't prevent people in the legislature from introducing whatever they might want to introduce. They certainly have a right to do that, but I don't think it would be good public policy for the state of Iowa. So when people want to know what my opinion is, that's what my opinion is. Obviously, individual legislators have their own opinions on various subjects.
Could you talk about Governor Perry? Or some governors, Jindal has come out in support of him, Ted Cruz is supporting him. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's pretty curious that this lawsuit is being filed against him at this particular point in time. I thought it was interesting, Mr. Axelrod, who's been an advisor to the president, also had some real questions and was very skeptical about this. Remember, this particular prosecutor was found guilty of OMVUI. That's a very serious thing. And for the governor to take that seriously, I think is within his scope and his responsibility as governor. We see a pattern of governors being sued for all kinds of things that are with just within the scope of their responsibility as governor to protect the safety and well-being of the people of their states.
Governor, do you think it would be appropriate, though, if you're trying to get rid of the public officials to fund their agency?
Well, I don't know the details and the circumstances on that, and I guess that's up to the people of Texas to decide who did what and what was appropriate. But I think the voters ought to decide that, the people ought to decide that.
Will this hurt him in the fact that he has been indicted?
No.
Is this going to hurt him in Iowa? That's what I'm saying.
I think it could well help him that you have this kind of attack being leveled against him. It is an attack, and it also is coming out of a particular county where you wouldn't exactly expect even-handedness. But again, this is strictly a charge that's been brought. People are considered innocent until something is proven in this country. Okay, thank you.
The former Democrats continue to rail against the tax credits provided to the fertilizer plant. Do you expect that the final $25 million credits available for those jobs?
Well, I find this kind of curious. While Senator Hatch and his colleagues rail against the tax credits that have helped created at least 1,750 really good construction jobs, lowered the unemployment to well over 30% in southeast Iowa, they find no problem with him voting for tax credits that's made him a millionaire and then refusing to disclose his tax returns. I find that hypocritical. By the way, I think Debbie Durham is one of the best professional developers in the whole country, and so does Site Selection Magazine. This is who the economic development professionals throughout the world read, and they said this project was the second best in the world in 2013. Iowa Farm Bureau estimates that it's going to save Iowa farmers $740 million each and every year by bringing the production of nitrogen fertilizer to Iowa instead of being produced overseas and having all the cost of shipping it back to the United States. So I think this is a great project. I'm looking forward to debating Senator Hatch in Burlington, not very far from the site of where those jobs are and where this project is going forward. And I can tell you the local elected officials in southeast Iowa who were involved in this, both Democrats and Republicans feel this is something that has been very good for their community, and it's created a lot of jobs, and there will be a lot of other auxiliary jobs as well.
Is that why you chose Burlington?
It's one of the reasons why I thought the Burlington invitation made a lot of sense.
And you expected the.
Plus, it's close to Illinois. So if you really want to see a state where there's corruption and mismanagement, we're going to be real close. You just look across the river.
Do you expect the plant will get all of the promised tax credits?
Well, here's the interesting thing about that negotiations, because at the time that agreement was reached, that provision was if the legislature didn't reduce the corporate income tax. Now, I recommended that we reduce the corporate income tax. The people that have railed against it are Senator Bolcom and Senator Hatch, and they have blocked the reduction of the corporate income tax. Now, they're still going to pay a significant amount of corporate taxes, but they're going to pay a little less, and Iowa's corporate tax rate is the highest in the nation. So in order to get that plant here, to be able to create those good jobs, the tax credit was provided. In the future, I'd like to see corporate income taxes reduced for everyone. This is very similar to what we did when we got rid of the tax on machinery and equipment. We did that for IPSCO Steel, you may recall, and then we phased it out on all the other ones. And the result is we've had huge capital investments. We've had ethanol and biodiesel plants in Iowa. We've had foundries built in our state. We've had huge capital investments because we made our tax structure more competitive. My goal as governor is make the tax structure more competitive, thereby attracting good paying jobs and growing the economy in all parts of the state.
Governor, Senator Hatcher said he's not opposed to using tax credits for economic development. He's saying that
Only if it lines his pocket, but not if it's going to create good jobs in southeast Iowa.
he's saying that they didn't get a good deal on this.
He thinks he knows, and that's a good question. So Jack Hatch thinks he's a better professional developer than Debbie Durham, and that he's better than the county officials in Lee County. I submit that Debbie Durham, who has a tremendous track record of being a tremendous economic developer in Sioux City and now for the state of Iowa, has helped grow the economy, reduce the unemployment rate in Iowa by about 30%, brought all kinds of good jobs to all parts of the state, knows a lot more about this than Jack Hatch. I would also submit that the people in Lee County that helped negotiate this and requested the assistance from the state know a lot more about this project than Jack Hatch.
You expect Debbie Durham to continue to be the head of her agency if you're reelected?
I sure hope so. She's done a phenomenal job. You know, and that's the other thing. Some of you maybe witnessed the mistreatment that she received at the hands of Senator Bolcom and his colleagues before that committee. And I know a lot of those folks from southeast Iowa were there too. And I felt so bad about the way she was interrupted and mistreated and the crazy accusations they made about her that we went down and we held our own public information meeting at the hospital in Fort Madison. And we got tremendous support. And I was introduced by a leader of the construction union. And this has broad-based bipartisan support in southeast Iowa. Maybe Democrats in the Senate don't think it's important, but the people that live there and the farmers of Iowa think this is, and this is making a difference. And it makes more sense to have fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizer produced in Iowa than overseas. We haven't talked about that, but I'm very hopeful she will, along with the other department heads. We have a lot of talented, capable people, especially women in key positions in this administration. I'm really proud that we have Debbie Durham as the Director of Economic Development. Everywhere I go throughout the state, people tell me how energetic she is, how she comes to their community, how much she's worked on different projects. And, you know, even before we took office, Debbie was already making calls and working on these projects. The Lieutenant Governor may want to, she knows her pretty well too, so I'm going to give you a chance to add.
Well, I'm proud of the work, and I'm proud of the way that she represents Iowa. Not only are the governor and I in all 99 counties, but Debbie is also in all 99 counties. She travels the nation and she travels abroad. She's very well respected in her community. She comes from the professional development background, so she understands what economic developers are looking for in this state. And if you want to talk about somebody that works with local government and local economic developers, then it's Debbie Durham. So she embodies what they're, what needs to take place in order for economic development to thrive and grow in this state. And I'm proud of the $9 billion capital private investment that's been invested in the state. Google, Facebook, Microsoft, CJ BioAmerica, Valent, the list goes on and on. And the thing that I talk about when I travel the state is it's not just happening in pockets, it's happening in every single corner of the state. And that is how Iowa is going to continue to grow, when we see economic development happening in every single corner of the state. And the agenda that we're going to put forward next year is going to build on what we've seen happen in this state over the last 3.5 years. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to continue to have the opportunity to work with Debbie Durham, Paul Trombino, DNR, Mary County. This is a coordinated effort, and Iowa and Iowans are reaping the benefit of articulate, bright leaders of our various state agencies, and we're seeing and she's doing a great job.
Yes, we do. But she hasn't been asked yet. That'd be presumptuous. We have to win this election first. We have to win this election first. Well, it's a sad situation. I think it's really tragic. Well, I was told by the Department of Public Safety that this was coming, and like I say, I feel really bad for him. I know his wife is deceased, and so I just feel bad for the whole family. Thank you.